Tell me about Alice in Wonderland and the excitement that you and the cast have for the Children's Theater and the upcoming show.
Yeah, so this is, we had done this production back in, I think it was 2015. I was in that production with Peter Brocious directing, and it was sort of our first jump into it with this design. And it's just an awesome design. It's beautiful, and it's surprising and inventive. So this is a remount of that production with all new people. I'm the only one returning to the show from before. So it's sort of same approach, but starting with a whole new mix of people, which is always fun because it sort of brings a lot of new ideas to the surface. We find new avenues and ways to sort of explore the story that we're trying to tell.
Second time around, you mentioned it's going to be a different show, new cast, new opportunities. This is your second time playing. Was it the same characters last time or different characters this time around?
No, so I'm doing the same parts that I did last time. I play the Mad Hatter and Humpty Dumpty. So it's another chance to look at those. And what was fun is we went back and watched the video from the last production, and the thing about theater is it's sort of an ephemeral art form where you do it and you have nothing to hold on to once it's done. I can't tell what I did on stage aside from looking at video. So any chance I get to go back and look at old shows we've done, it's sort of fun to see like, oh, so that's what it was. And for me, oftentimes it's sort of like, oh, that's what I did. But I have to tell you, watching this one, again, I go back to the thing. It was such a beautiful design. And Skip did the set as well as the costume design. So the whole thing marries in such a cool way that it feels really complete and really full. So it was fun to watch the video and sort of be like, wow, that was actually really cool. And now I'm excited to have, I have a new scene partner in the Tea Party scene as the Mad Hatter. And he's a wonderfully inventive actor here in town and has a great experience and stuff. So we'll find new things, I know. But yeah, I'm excited to jump back into it. And both of those scenes are a lot of fun and give me a lot of leeway to create and explore and be crazy.
Yeah, with as many performances and different roles under your belt as you have, this one obviously is very colorful. You mentioned crazy, whimsical, this story. Do you enjoy doing shows where it is a little bit more out there and you can act a little bit differently, or are you more serious line, or does it just bring out a different piece of you in each of them?
All of the above. Like every single thing you said is true. I mean, what I love about what we do at Children's Theater, first and foremost, what's cool about working there is the size of imagination that we're working with is immense. There's no end to it. Kids have huge imaginations and they will believe and go on a journey with you way more than an adult would. We go as adults into things, we cross our arms and sit there and we're sort of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm an audience member. The kids buy in right away and they know those characters are real. They know that story's real. It's happening. So the scope of what you get to do from highs to lows is so cool. So that's one thing I love about it. And also working at Children's Theater, we do shows there that really crazy, like Alice in Wonderland. It's imagination, it's play. Anything can happen and anything does happen. But we also do shows that are very real and very small and just dealing with the issues of maybe a mom and a kid. And it's just a very small scene and very true. So I get to do that whole range. And that to me is what keeps me coming back to Children's Theater, is because I get to do everything. It's like having a huge Las Vegas buffet in front of me and I can choose whatever I want that day. And sometimes there's new menu items that I'm like, oh, this is going to be great to try. So it's the best of both worlds.
Oh, absolutely. We are regulars of the Children's Theater, and we know that obviously the shows and the productions are presented and crafted for both children and adults, but with a skew towards the children. Interactive. Sometimes the kids are yelling from the crowd. How do you guys plan for those sorts of things to bring it to a level that can open up those imaginations and maybe get away from the stuffiness of the adults, like you mentioned?
Yeah, and that to me, the measure of a good children's theater show is when the people that came in as adults thinking, oh, we're just going to watch our kids enjoy this play, they sort of stop looking at their kid and they get pulled into the story and they start reacting or being surprised by what they see. And I can't tell you the number of people that have left that theater, the ones that have been there for the first time and gone, I had no idea it was going to be that good. I was blown away by that place, and that's what I take pride in, is we like to surprise. We like to show people that, hey, it says Children's Theater, but that doesn't, I think in my world, I think there's an assumption that Children's Theater is somehow less than. And that's not the case. It's always equal to, if not more so, because we have to keep those kids engaged. We have to make sure that we're tending to the young ones as well as the older ones in the audience to make sure everyone is on that journey. And so there's a lot of tailoring that goes into every moment, every scene to say, okay, what jokes are we aiming here? What pieces of the story are going to connect with an older audience that's looking at it through that lens? And Peter's really great at trying to get that audience connection going, as far as just going out in the audience, running chases through the rows of the audience, or pulling them up on stage and having them engage with us on stage. You know, that's what makes that audience member feel alive and be like, oh my gosh, I went to the theater today and I got pulled up on stage. Can you believe that? You know, so I love that about Peter. I love that. And we're going to have that in this show again, where it's a lot of audience interaction. Some of it we haven't planned yet, so we're figuring it out as we go, but some of it we did last time. So it's great, because I think we have to remember that we're building the audience for theater for the future. You know, kids come to this theater and they see a show, and we maybe hook them. They're like, boy, I want to see another play. I want to be in a play. I want to work on a play. And so those other theaters in town that are maybe traditionally for older audience groups are benefiting from the work we're doing, because we're building their audience base for the future by what we do.
I can speak from experience. From the moment you walk in the door, the experiential timing of the things that are in the foyer and the photo opportunities as you walk in, all the way up to the moment that the show starts, it's meant for a family friendly. I think they say 6+, but I mean, it's a family event where you can all walk out of it and have a good time. You've been, if I read right, doing shows at the Children's Theater since 1994. Is that accurate? Yeah,
next year will be my 30th season there.
Crazy. How has that changed? I mean, the space has changed a little bit. You have the opportunities, the experience has changed. Walk us through what it looked like maybe in 1994, and then what it looks like nowadays.
Yeah, so it's interesting now that we just have selected our next artistic director, because when I came in, it was the person prior to Peter Brocious. So I came in under a different leadership, and we had one stage at the time as far as our performance space. And then with Peter coming, I was able to sort of see the world of an entire institution changing over. You know, people left, people came in, creative decisions changed, artistic visions, came to light as far as like what Peter wanted to do, which was different than what we had been doing. So it was a very exciting time. And I think the neat thing about Peter is he really invested in us and created a home for us as far as the theater, and said, hey, I want you guys here, those of us that are in the company, and we're going to do all this together. And so the partnership was strong from the get-go. And he started crafting works for us specifically. I did a show based on Buster Keaton, all of his silent movie work, and that was all tailor-suited to me. Peter brought a playwright in, and we just crafted the thing from the ground up and built a show that was for me. So, I have to say, creatively, he's given me an incredible launch pad to sort of explore and figure out who I am as an artist. And it's created a safe space where I don't have to worry about the next job or the next gig, because Peter's created a place for me to do that. And so now, moving forward with Rick coming in Peter's time, he added a whole new theater space for us. We have 2 operating theaters right now, a smaller space and then our main stage. So the level of work being done, the amount of work being done has increased. And now with Rick coming in, I'm sure Rick will have new ideas as far as how to, harness those spaces and make that work even more dynamic, and continue the work that Peter's been doing, and hopefully include all of us as, people that have been there and invested so much of our lives into the place.
Yeah. Let's talk about your role or roles in the show a little bit. Tell me what it's like playing dual roles, two different roles. How do you balance it? Obviously, costume changes maybe help you get in the mentality, but do you like the variation in a show like this where you get to play 2 different parts, or you kind of get streamlined and fall into one?
No, I love it. I mean, I love the variety. I think what keeps you engaged in the moment is those quick changes of things. So being able to go from one character to another and then back into the ensemble and bring out moments, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you really invested in the moment. You have to keep listening and keep with the story, because the minute you start to check out or go on autopilot, the show will pass you by and then you've lost your audience. So I love it. I enjoy that Hatter scene. Is just so crazy because it is what it is. It's madness. They've been having this tea party for weeks on end because the watch broke. They don't know what time it is, so they just keep having the tea party over and over and over, and they don't know when to stop or how to stop. So, you can imagine yourself staying up 24 hours straight drinking coffee and where that might take you. And so to me, it's a great jumping off place for anything to happen. The Humpty Dumpty scene is such a fun little, circus moment because this trick ladder comes out and goes in the floor of the stage, and it looks like a regular ladder. There's people holding it up, and I come out, and the minute I start climbing it, everyone backs away, and I'm just balancing on the ladder at the top, sitting on it as Humpty Dumpty. And then the trick of it is, as Alice is talking to me about what can happen, I start to lean forward, and the whole thing is on a pendulum, so I can go back and forth and almost fall. And it just gets to be real fun to sort of play with the audience in that way. And, it's just fun. I love the stunt stuff of that. Anything physical, I really enjoy doing. So that's cool. And I don't feel intimidated by switching characters. We did a show a couple of years ago, Snow White, and it was 2 people in the show, and I played basically all 7 dwarves plus 5 other characters. So all I did was with the hat, just switch characters and voices and physicality and stuff. So, I mean, that's really fun, and I love it.
One thing you mentioned earlier is these shows are crafted towards young kids, introducing them to the arts, and hopefully opening some doors. One thing that the Children's Theater does so well is empowering child actors with big roles and important pieces. A lot of places have younger casts that can move and go depending on what the story is. But am I right to say that that's a focal point at the Children's Theater to say, hey, this is all of us. We are a family from whatever age down to the bottom. We all have an important piece to play, and we couldn't do it without everybody doing exactly what they need.
Totally. Yeah. And I think what set us apart from the get-go was where other theaters would typically, do their children's work, they would cast adults in children's roles. We've always tried to lean towards having it age appropriate. So whoever's playing, Huck Finn or Peter Pan or whatever, we try and cast accordingly. Alice is a teenager, so thinking about that so that it's as authentic as it can be from those kids' perspective, because seeing, a 50-year-old guy play a 7-year-old kid is not quite it can be charming, I suppose, but it's just different. It's not the truth of the moment. So I think that's what's cool. And I think what we try and do in the room is create a space where those kids feel fearless and brave and feel supported in a way that they know that the ensemble that's behind them, these, seasoned professionals that have been doing this for decades, are there to support them so they have their moment. And so it's not a thing where the people in the background are less than. They're actually more than. They're adding to that moment. And so the entire place lifts up. And then, you add into it the support staff of the production side and the administrative side and everything. The building it's got a great culture around it. And I think it reflects the work we're doing as far as just leaning into all of that and making those kids feel like it's the space that they own. I always tell people, the building, it says Children's Theater Company. And so in my mind, this theater belongs to them. It is their theater. And so I'm there to serve them, and whatever I can do to do that is kind of what I want to do.
That's awesome. Last question, and then we'll let everybody know how they can join us at the show. See me in the audience, whatever that might look like. Alice in Wonderland is a story that many people are familiar with. There is always going to be in the back of their mind maybe a comparison to the Disney movie or the live action reenactment or a different performance that they've seen before. What do you like about that? And what do you have to focus in on to say, okay, we want to do our own production and not just a remake of the Johnny Depp version or whatever that might be? How do you balance that between making it your own and kind of staying true to the characters?
I think, the story has been a part of, I think the theater has done Alice in Wonderland probably 5 times that I'm aware of. So, I mean, it's a story that we've had access to. And so I think we feel less obliged to, try and match what any, like a film or something like that, because it's such a different medium, even the cartoon and stuff. It's great to look at it and be like, oh, that's an interesting character choice and stuff. But, translating that stuff onto stage is such a hard thing. So we really try and, with the people we have in the room, say, hey, how are we going to do this? Because 10 people could get in line and try and direct the show of Alice in Wonderland and have a very different take for each person, and it would all work, because that's the beauty of art, is you can, with a vision, create something that's unique to itself. So yeah, we consider some of those things, but I think more so we lean into the people in the room to make that come alive. And what I love about this story is it's not necessarily a story that has a beginning, middle, and an end. It's a story about challenging what we know, what we accept as reality. And I think when this story was written, the whole purpose was to challenge that Victorian thing of like, this is how things are done. Stay within this box, walk down this way, talk that way, look this way, stand up, sit down. And Lewis Carroll was trying to break all that with a story that was just about madness. She goes into a dream, but in that dream, she could stand up and talk back to the queen. She could challenge authority. She could question things. Up could be down, down could be up. You know, it created a world where anything could happen. And I think in the spirit of what we do at the theater, it's that sense of play, it's that sense of imagination. And so my hope is the audience comes in, gets to not only watch and enjoy that imagination and play, but also capture some of that and take it out of the building with them and have the conversations about, oh, my favorite part was this because, and you know, those conversations that happen in the car ride home, I think are almost as important as the story itself, because that's when the family shares all of that together. So
right. And to pull out, I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and to see how they see it differently and different things that stand out to them, it's fun, it's important, and it's appreciated. You know, from the parents' perspective, you know, me and my wife do the same thing and pull different things out of it. So, like you said, it's a wonderful family event. Dean, I appreciate the time. Appreciate the opportunity to chat about the show. I appreciate your focus and your vision for the future of theater, the present of theater, and empowering these kids, because it is something that gets lost a lot of times. And in a world where they're just kind of pushed to the side, this opportunity to put them in the forefront, empower them. And like you said, you at one point you said you're here for them, you're working for them. And that goes, I know, because of what you're saying, for the kids in the company, but also the kids in the audience as well. So thank you for that, because that's really important.
Thank you. Yeah.